All right, so we've had more than a little bit of snow where I live, and I thought maybe the dolls in the dollhouse are getting some snow this winter too, and maybe the kids want to go sled on that big hill behind the dollhouse. If so, we're making a sled this week. Ignore the not quite dry glue. I'm having to rush the video today. But stay tuned and see how quick and easy this little sled is to make. All right, so the parts list and tools list for this is pretty short. You're gonna need some skinny sticks, a couple of craft sticks or popsicle sticks, some glue, and I'm using Turbo Tacky as well as some Gorilla Super Glue if I can get the lid off of it, a pencil, a ruler, an emery board, and something to cut your wood with. I'm using my handy dandy Easy Cutter. So we are going to start by marking off 2 inches from each end on some of these skinny sticks. I like to do 2 inches from each end, that way I don't have to cut and measure and cut and measure. I don't have to remeasure after I cut, in other words. And I actually need 5, so I need 1 more. So you're going to need 3 skinny sticks. And we're going to use those parts in the middle too, or part of those. All right, we need to then cut these so that we have 5 of those. And that little bit in the middle is going to be just a little bit short, but that's okay. And you notice if I turn this sideways like that, I can kind of control where my stick goes. It doesn't fly off across the room as badly. All right. Now, we're going to line these up. And I'm working on a piece of parchment paper because that keeps my table cleaner. Right now I'm going to use this to kind of get these lined up, and they're not perfect. That's okay. And I am going to cut this. I'm going to measure this first because I forget what this measurement is. Now I used to make these little sleds and sell them on eBay and at the local miniature show. Oh, 1 inch. But I sold them as a decorative sled, and today we're going to not paint them as a decorative sled. You could do that, obviously. Mark off 1 inch so I can cut a couple of 1 inch pieces. And I recommend you measure in case yours comes out a little bit different width. I've noticed that some of the cheaper skinny sticks do tend to be just a tiny bit skinnier than the ones I buy in the craft store or in the more expensive stores. All right. They're sticking to my fingers. Well, I'll even them up once I get the once I get this on there. Put some glue there. Try not to get too much and kind of spread it out with your finger. Now, if you're going to use wood stain on this, you'll need to stain these boards at this point before you glue this on. But I'm just going to leave mine plain. If you want to paint them, you won't have to do that. You can do that after they're finished. And one end will be a little bit crooked. That's okay. We can even that out with the emery board once this glue dries. And one of these. And this glue needs to dry so that this will be nice and solid. And when that happens, I'll come back and we'll go to the next step. All right, now my glue is dry, or at least pretty dry. I'm supporting this pretty well because it's still not, the glue's not completely dry yet. this off. Should have been more careful in my measuring. I obviously was off on my measurements. But we'll call that good today. If you're doing this at home, make sure you measure more carefully and that you get that sanded smooth. I could probably actually cut this. Since we've got the fence there, we can actually just cut. There. That evened it up quite a bit. Now, we have these two regular size craft sticks or popsicle sticks or whatever you want to call them. I am going to lay the tip, the rounded tip, at 2 3/4 of an inch. I'll have the measurements in the video or in the blog post like normal. And I'm going to make a mark at 2 3/4 inches. And I'm going to do that again. Because we are going to make the back of the, these are going to be our sled, our runners for our sled. Now, if you watched my video where I talked about this tool, you know that we have the 45-degree there. So I got to make sure I'm going the right direction. Hold on. Something. All right. Yes, it's this one. So I'm going to make an X up here. There. Now I know which one I'm cutting off. All right. I am going to lay this so that the popsicle stick is laying on the 45-degree angle fence, and the mark I just made is at my cutting line, which is right here, and this is the part that's cutting off. I'm going to do that again. That will make that our longest point. And now we have two pieces that should be pretty identical. Yep, they are. And now we are going to glue these. This side will go at the top of the sled. We're going to glue it right like this. I'm going to do it upside down. And let's see, what do I have? I have a little jar of paint here. I can put on one side and I can put my glue on the other side. Try to be neat with this. Don't use too much glue, because if you use too much glue, you're going to get glue all over, and you don't want that. That's up to you if you want to paint your sleds to be a decorative sled, or if you want to have them be. The lid is, the cap is glued on with this. Let's see if I can get. Now, remembering we're beyond the short side, just a couple of little tiny line. Decide which is your front, which is your back. I'm going to line the cut, this piece up with what will become the back of our sled. And I'm going to put that paint there. Now, this one goes this side. I'm going to make just a couple more little dots. And this glue is, my super glue's gotten a little thick over time, so it's kind of stringy. That's fine. It works great for our purposes today. Again, lining the cut line up, cut area up, and this time I'm going to put my glue next to it. That way, it will keep it from falling open. Now that glue needs to dry for a little bit, and when that's dry, I'll come back and we'll take a look at the sled for the doll kids. And actually, I'm going to add a rope handle to it too. I almost forgot that. So I'll go gather that up and let this glue dry. All right, so when I pop this off of the paper, there's a little bit residue of glue here. When this is completely dry, because it's not yet, I will go through with my craft knife, and I'll try and show you very carefully here, and I'll just pop that off. You just kind of scrape it off. But it needs to wait until it's all the way dry, which I don't have time for if I'm going to get this video up. So, you can leave this, I'm going to leave this one plain. I'm not going to paint it at all, but you could. You could paint these runners silver if you wanted to, or red. I remember when I was a little girl, my sled had red runners on it, but they were metal. Or you can paint this as a decorative sled and put it against the front porch on your dollhouse, which is what I used to do with the ones I sold. Those I painted with a dark blue. I painted a little snowman scene with splatters of white paint for snow, and they were very cute. So let's put a rope handle, and I found some black embroidery floss. I didn't have necessarily what I would have liked to have had, but this will work. So we are going to I'm going to eyeball this, and then I'll measure it so you will know how long to cut it. I like about that much. So let's cut this. Hopefully these scissors will work, because these are my paper scissors. They did. All right. How long is that? That is about 5 1/4 inches long. So I'm going to write myself a note. So I can put it in the blog post. Now, what we are going to do, make sure you have the rounded end. And I want to tuck this kind of back here by the ends of this board. And I'll probably put another little drop of glue right here. That way it will just have a better chance of staying where I want it. I don't have my good crafting tweezers, but I've got a pair of regular tweezers here. And I'm going to use, I don't want to use those tweezers, so we've got this piece of wood. And now, bring this around. And don't go past that, the bottom of that board. Hopefully I'm not getting my head in the screen. I'm hoping not. There. Now your dolls have a sled they can use if it snows where they live, like it did where I live. So I hope you enjoyed today's quick and easy little project. Be sure and check the blog post for more details and photos and the measurements that I cut everything. And hopefully I'll be back on track now. I've actually been snowed in for off and on since Christmas, so I am really, really tired of winter. I'm ready for spring. So come back next time and see what I come up with for the dolls then, and have fun with your minis. I'll talk to you later. Bye.